Welcome to another episode of the Press On podcast, and today we have my friend Gabriel Wong. He's the founder of Ascend Marketing, and he helps his clients to get high quality leads, position themselves as experts in the industries, and also to become market leaders. So we have him today to share with us a little bit more about his story, about how he actually overcome all the different trials and tribulations in his life to become the business owner and the success that he is today. So without further ado, Gabriel, maybe you want to share with us a little bit more about yourself?
So first of all, thanks for having me. Appreciate that. Basically, I'm basically in digital marketing, and I help my clients become recognized, respected, and they are requested by their clients, so that ultimately they can achieve meaningful results for them. So that's what we've been doing. I've been doing this for the last probably 7 years right now. Yeah, and enjoy what I do and run this business with my wife. We vision to really change the landscape of marketing for Singapore. Yeah.
Awesome, man. And of course, Gabriel and I had been friends for many years. I think we first knew each other when he was in his 20s, I believe.
Yeah.
All right. So, Gabriel, I understand that you went through a very interesting life, interesting backstory, right? So, what was it that eventually led you to go into this digital marketing, wanting to really change this industry? Tell us a little bit more about your backstory. How was your background? Did you grow up in a business environment?
Yeah, I didn't grow up in a business environment. I mean, I came from middle low class family, and I say that is because my parents are both not university grad. My dad dropped out of secondary school, so we haven't really been doing very well when we were young. You can see them struggling with money here and there. But one of the reasons why we started young was because I was the only child. So when I was 16 years old, my dad lost his job. My mom was the sole breadwinner, but she's only making a small income of $3,000 a month as a clerk. And in Singapore, that is, I think it's decent, but it's not a very lavish lifestyle, right? And that kind of forced me to do something, to think about what I want to do in my life, simply because I'm the only child and I have to take care of both my parents, right? Because you have I wouldn't say a burden, but a responsibility of having to take care of two parents if you grew up. And I knew that, just getting a 9 to 5 wouldn't work for me, because I wouldn't be able to get a kind of level of income, and I would just be, taking care of them.
Right.
Maybe just enough to take care of them. So that was how I started at 16 years old. A friend of mine convinced me to join an MLM company, a network marketing company, and I was convinced to join, right? Simply because I just want to make a lot of money. There wasn't any noble reason, whatever. I want to make a lot of money. I was very ambitious. I want to buy nice stuff. I want to buy branded goods. I want to look like a baller. So I joined the industry, and unfortunately, I did well. So I rose up to become one of the top leader in this company. For about 7 years, I grew my division and my team to over 2,000 people.
Right. So you started from 16 and you grew it into 2,000 people.
Yeah. By the time I hit about 21 years old.
Amazing.
Yeah, was making an income of $500,000. That was one of my peak monthly income. I achieved the lifestyle I want. I achieved the baller lifestyle. I stay in places like Sentosa Cove. I was opening bottle every Wednesday, every weekends in the club. Just really looking like a baller.
Yeah, I imagine so as well. At 21, when you kind of achieve more than what everybody could have achieved in their lifetime, I think you'll definitely be tempted by a lot of this kind of lavish lifestyle, luxury, and all that stuff. Yeah. And I understand these days, there's no glimpse of such luxury in your life at this moment, right? But more so, I realize that you are more mature, you are more responsible, more like a family, business-oriented kind of guy, where your values are really at the forefront of everything that you do. So what was the change for you, man, to go from somebody who just, parties all the time, to somebody like now,
I guess there's a couple of factors that went into that decision process. But I think first thing is you realize those things that you're chasing for, or what I was chasing for, all the material stuff, all the branded stuff, I had 2 cars back then. I had a driver so that I can look like a baller, walking out the car, and then my driver will park the car, those kind of stupid stuff. You realize that none of that is really important. None of that really makes me happy.
Right.
I remember partying every single night, right? I thought I was living the high life. People look at me 21 years old, making so much money, girls around me, bottles every night. But every night I will reach home drunk, and I will feel lonely. And I'll feel like there's a void in me that I'm not fulfilled. And I thought that maybe more money will give me that fulfillment. So then I work harder, make more money, buy more stuff. And the more stuff I buy, the more empty I feel. But of course, the second one was because I got humbled. There was a downfall in my life, somewhere when I was 23 years old. Even though I was very young, I'm glad that it happened early. I lost everything. I left the company that I was with, and we found out that the company was basically a Ponzi scheme. So there was a whole drama going on that I don't think I had a lot of time to share, but I had to go to court, had to testify because I was also a witness. I was a witness testifying against my ex-boss. But at the same time, I'm also the victim, right? Because I lost all my entire life savings, my family life savings. I went to the company because I wanted to take care of my parents, right? But I left with nothing and I lost all my parents' life savings. So I was in a worse situation when I first started.
Understand. So it's like you kind of like had it all, but in the end, you only walk away with nothing and less than nothing in effect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely quite a stressful situation for you to be at the peak, and then suddenly you wake up one day needing to go to court, needing to, do all the difficult stuff that you never thought you would do. How do you actually bounce back from that, man? Like, to pretty much lose everything is not an easy thing to go through.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you bounce back from that?
I would like to also say that when people say lose everything, but they didn't really lose everything.
Okay.
Maybe they still got their family members, they still got their loved ones. I actually lost everyone. During this period where I left the company, my mother and my father was diagnosed with cancer around the same time. And they unfortunately passed on around this period as well. I literally have nobody. I have no money, don't even have family members. I don't have blood-related family, right? Like sometimes you do something and you fail, you may have someone that you can go back to cry, or you have at least a family member that could support you financially. Not financially, at least emotionally, mentally, right? I had no one. And I think that really taught me a great lesson and really humbled me to, for me, I seek God. I felt that was the time that God could work in my life when I had lost everything. When I was like living in a baller life, when I was having all the things that I want in my life, that's where you have so much pride. I have so much pride. I was arrogant and I think I'm the top of the world until I lost everything. I got stripped off everything, and that's where I humbled myself. I allowed God in my life. There was this story, particularly what gave me the breakthrough was knowing that God was taking care of me. And how that happened was that I remember that when I lost everything during this period where I only have $1,000 left to my name. Some people might say $1,000 not so bad, right? But I was in a close to $500,000 debt, making monthly payment. Okay, so $1,000 is nothing, but it's nothing. But I remember I always have this $1,000 note in my safe. Okay, I kept it in my safe, not ATM. It's more like an emergency thing. Like sometimes you hide some money at home just in case of emergency.
Yep.
And that was the last $1,000 I had. So I remember I couldn't even make monthly payments anymore. When I buy groceries, buying a $6 bacon was a luxury. I had to eat $1.50 chicken rice every day, chicken breast cook every day myself just to save money. So the $1,000 meant a lot. And I remember that there was one day I was going to church. I felt a prompting to take this $1,000 with me. And then when I was at church, at church, they'll pass the offering back.
Yep.
Okay, this is pre-COVID days. I held this prompting to put this $1,000 I have inside the offering bag. And I did that. As it passed by, I put it.
So you basically had nothing left, the only $1,000 just in case, and you gave it as an offering.
Yeah. For me, it was a surrender moment. It was a moment that I surrender, and I surrender all control to God, knowing that He's going to take care of me. Of course, it wasn't without its challenges and struggle and doubts. But what's amazing was 3 weeks later, and I always tell people this story, right? I feel that when I hear stories like that, I don't believe it until it happens to me. So 3 weeks later, I received a letter in my mailbox. And when I opened up the letter, it was actually a check for $14,000. 14. Okay, I cannot make this up. The number is specifically $14,000. And what happened was it's actually an insurance policy that my mother bought for me close to 20 years ago before she passed on. And the policy is maturing. I can choose to wait a few more years to take out $20,000, or I can take out $14,000 now. Obviously, I took the $14,000, right? Because at least that helps me to tide through the next few months. And part of that money became the seed money that allowed me to start my agency and grow it to what it is today. So that was the moment that I learned that God was taking care of me. But when God takes care of people, right, He usually takes care of people through someone. So He was using an insurance agent 20 years ago to bless me Because if that guy didn't convince my mother to buy that policy or whatever,
it will not happen, right?
this will not happen.
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting as well, right? It's like, I mean, I'm not like religious per se, right? But I always believe that, let's say you ask for something, you know, sometimes it might not come in the form of what you want exactly. Like you can ask God for strength, but He won't give you strength per se, but He give you in situation so that you can gain strength.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So the fact that, you know, you kind of surrendered your entire being, your entire situation to a higher power, and somehow, you know, it all became well. I think that's very amazing. It's an amazing testimony lah.
Yeah.
I mean, like just like you, I also have my skepticisms, right, in the past as well. Like you hear all these kind of stories, and it's only up to you to experience it. Then you can only make sense of it, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. So with that being said, you know, that 14,000 was the foundations of your agency today.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about this agency that they've created. What are some of the challenges, and how do you overcome it?
Yeah.
You know.
So a lot of things are definitely on hindsight, but I guess from the story I just told you, it kind of allowed me to narrow down to the people or the audience that I want to serve, which are mainly service professionals, you know, small business owners, because these are the people that are meeting their clients face to face. And many a times they actually meet their clients and they become friends with their client. They create lifelong, meaningful relationship with them. Unlike a big corporation, MNC, you know, that it's not personal, right? They're not personal with their clients, they're not personal with the customer. And because of this story, I realized that that's the customer I want to serve. So I started to, of course, a lot of it was subconscious. Right? And now I think about it, that this story, that made me realize, why are most of my clients, and even I recently created a software called Salesable. We have grew to close to 1,000 users that have been using it. We now have about 400 over active users. And most of them are service professionals. We're talking about real estate agents, we're talking about financial planners, we're talking about coaches, trainers like yourself. And sometimes people ask me, why don't you just go to where the big money is? You know, why don't you just go to all the big MNC with billions of dollars of budget, right?
Yeah.
But that's not where my heart is. So I guess sometimes it's not just about following where the money is, but following where your heart is and where you want to serve, right? The people that you want to serve. Ultimately, it's always the ideal client, right? Focusing on who you are serving rather than what you want to sell.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
You know, back when I first started my business as well, and I believe that in this business world, right, there are a lot of ways that you can make money. I think if you want to make money, you don't really need to get clear on so many things, right? Money is just simply value exchange, give a service and you get money, right? But I think what you say really resonates with me as well, because like the reality of it is that I could, you know, charge super premium, do all the super high level stuff, serve only the cream of the crop. But at the same time as well, you know, you cannot run away from what your heart is leading you towards, right? So even though my clientele is also, you know, entrepreneurs like yourself, business owners and high-level executives, at the same time, these people are not without their own challenges, right? So for instance, the guys that I work with, you know, on the surface, they are very successful. But behind the scenes in their personal life, you know, they could be facing some kind of challenges in terms of their energy, in terms of their confidence, that could be slowly affecting everything else around them, right? And why I realize I'm doing these kind of things is also because it's like my own story in the past, right? On the surface, I look great, you know, I had like, you know, six-pack abs, the dream lah, basically. I was on like magazines and all the online publications. But then deep down, I know that, hey, there's still that level of insecurity that I want to work on. So I always believe that what we do over here is kind of like helping your past self, right? Kind of like helping you to maximize your life through your own story, so to speak.
Interesting.
Right? Your own hero's journey is basically another person's roadmap to success. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And what was the source of the insecurity?
I think all along, you know, I've always been comparing myself with different people. Like, oh, I want to be more successful, I want to be like them.
Yeah.
But then I realized that everybody's journey is a bit different. Something that was shared to me recently is this, right? If today we were to take your thumbprint and we put in the system, okay, around the world, will there be another Gabriel Wong? Will there be another Preston Sin? Will there be somebody with the same thumbprint?
Yeah.
No, right? Because we are one of kind, we are unique. So everybody's roadmap is going to be very different. It might be similar, but it's going to be very different. So your challenges, your trials, your tribulations, everything is going to be very different to help you to become the person that you need to be in this world, right? And it so happens that, yeah, I think our challenges are unique for a reason, so that you can actually serve as your highest purpose. So like even the people that you serve today, you notice your clientele is somehow they'll resonate with your story. Just like how my clients also resonate with my story one way or another.
Yeah.
Right. On that note as well, what are some other lessons that you have learned in your journey so far? Like in the process of, going from nothing to something again and then to somebody right now.
I think maybe a very important lesson is I learned to hold everything loosely. Because nothing is for certain in life. And the need to feel certain about something, it's what kills your growth. I'll give you an example. When I am sharing to service professionals or service business owners how they can find their ideal client, many of them always ask me, well, how do I know this ideal client is for me? And it's always a similar question when someone asks me, how do you know for sure your wife is the one? And it's the same thing now. I became a father. Now I'm a father of two. How do you know you're ready to be a father? The idea is that you never know. You never be ready. Until today, I don't think I'm very ready to be a father, right? But you become ready when you say, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna go ahead and do it, and I commit to doing it. And so sometimes you don't even know who is your ideal client until you just commit to one first, test it out. Okay, maybe pros and cons. You don't like this ideal client you're serving. You can always change, right? But I think most people, they don't even commit to even going for one. Or maybe one business, right? Just like you're asking me, am I a serial entrepreneur? I'm not a serial entrepreneur anymore because I believe now it's more about focus on one business, right? When you try to have so many businesses, it's like having a lot of wife. Yeah, it's just one wife is all you need, man. Right? It's all you need. So I think the idea is like we want to select one and then just go for it. We'll never be certain, but you know that if you go 100%, even if you fail, you're gonna learn something from it. But the need to feel, I want to know, I'm certain about this before I move, right, will stop you from moving, which is a very dumb move, I feel.
Right. Yeah. So it's like you kind of like cripple your own journey to success just because you are afraid to get it wrong.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I also believe because of my faith and because my trust in Christ and my surrender moment, right, I feel that, if I could lose everything again, He's going to take care of me again. So that's why I try not to hold everything too loosely and willing to take more risk, calculated risk, of course. But yeah, I no longer feel like I have to be certain for every single thing. Yeah.
I guess a lot of people listening to this podcast as well might have that fear, of failing. I mean, end of the day, we are brought up in an environment whereby we must always do our best. We must not even just do our best, we need to have the results to show. Otherwise, we are not good, right? Like for instance, let's say in school, we are taught to always get good grades, otherwise or else. Get a good job or else, right? So I think that having a high level of faith definitely can help with this surrender moment, trusting the process. At the same time, if let's say somebody is not very religious or what are some practical ways that somebody can actually feel confident about the step that they're going to take?
I think that's a very good question. I don't think I have like a full answer for that because I have a different journey. I feel that my life has been pretty blessed, and I choose to believe that I'm blessed. I think that's also another thing, like what do you choose to believe? I believe in a higher form, a higher power. I choose to believe that I'm blessed. There are also Christians that choose to not believe they're blessed. I think it's what you choose to believe in. I read this research about people who think they're lucky tend to do better also. Right? So we don't let's not talk about maybe a higher power, but even people who think they're lucky tends to do better.
Right.
I think it all goes back down to your belief system and what you believe. And many of that can be changed.
I agree.
Yeah. Like many of the belief system is something that it was formed since we were young. Okay. But unlike animals, right, we have the ability to change. We have the ability to say to ourselves, okay, I'm not going to be this person anymore. A dog will always be a dog. They cannot say, I'm going to be a cat, right?
Yeah.
Right? But as human, we have this ability to change our identity almost in an instant. Like if you're a smoker, you can just start saying, I'm no longer a smoker. It might sound contradicting, right? But there is also studies that says that if you try to quit smoking, right, that's called outcome-based. Outcome-based, you tend to fail compared to when someone offers you a cigarette and say, I no longer smoke.
Yeah. So it's like you're changing your root identity rather than trying to change the outcome or the surface level behaviors.
Yeah. So a belief of who you are.
Yeah.
So if you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to be a marketer, you gotta start believing that you are a marketer, you are a successful marketer. Not when you do something that you become, but rather you become then you do.
So it's kind of like the concept of the be, do, have mentality, right?
Something like that,
Yeah, because I think that your beliefs are so important. if you deep down you believe that you cannot do it, somehow, even though you are doing everything right on the surface, right, you still trip yourself up. And it's kind of like that meme, right, where the guy's on a bike and then he take a stick and then he tripped himself. You know, that's what happens to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
You know, whereby they self-sabotage, sometimes even unknowingly.
Yeah.
So I guess it's all about really auditing our own belief system, you know, taking that time to take a step back and to really ask yourself, who are you? Who do you really want to become? And what can you do to go and get it?
Yeah.
I guess as well on that note of be, do, have, right? It's a lot of people operate from that frame whereby, oh, I have this, so I do this to my limited capacity, then obviously I will become that person who is limited by my choices or consequences.
Yes.
But on the flip side, it's all about if you want to be that next level, the best version of yourself, well, you gotta be that, you gotta believe that, and then you will do whatever the person or whatever that level requires of you, and then eventually you have whatever, you know, that person or the best version of yourself have.
Yeah.
Right?
Just to add on a bit about what you just said, which is very true. How you believe or how you see yourself matters. Like, not just in business and your career, but like, and finances, but even your relationship. Like for me, I remember that before I was a believer in Christ, before I changed my belief that I am loved by Christ, right? I don't believe that I deserve love. Something went wrong when I was younger that I still haven't resolved 100%, but that made me feel like I don't deserve love, right? So even when I meet a couple of nice girls, I tend to do things that will self-sabotage that relationship. You know, you talk about self-sabotaging, right? And this is the same pattern that could happen even in a business. You know, like that's why you do see people who made money in business, but somehow they'll do some self-sabotage, right? And they will lose the money, or the business will disappear or collapse, right? Even when they achieve a level of success. And that's why it's so important to not just focus on what you need to do, the level of success, but rather who you need to be so that you don't self-sabotage.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
On that note as well, you know, I would say that your belief systems right now will be very, very different from the person that you were, you know, when you had everything. What do you feel are some of the key belief systems that you have adjusted to help you to go through all these different challenges, you know, apart from, you know, your belief in Christ?
I think definitely is values. What do you value most? Right? Some people value significance. Like, I need to feel a need to be significant and have attention, and that's valuable to them, right? If not, and it's very natural. Some people, because we are all wired this way, that if we don't have attention, as a baby, we don't have attention, we die. No one's taking care of us, right? So a lot of times these are programmed and wired in us. But if you live for attention, you know, it's not going to give you a very fulfilling life. So I think changing of values, what's important to me, right? So obviously the first thing was God, right? That's important to me. The next thing is family. So now, you know, when people say, I don't know, say stuff about me, because I have a dark past, right? So if I see comments, whatever, and people say stuff about me, it doesn't affect my family. I mean, like, doesn't affect anything. Doesn't affect my business, doesn't affect my family. What's important is that, can I still take care of my family? Can I still take care of my wife? Can I still take care of my children? Like, for example, recently I quit drinking. Now it's what?
Day 90.
Yesterday is 90.
All
yes,
right.
Yesterday, day 90.
Congrats.
Not a single drop of alcohol, right? And I was an alcoholic. And that was important to me because the lifestyle of like going to the club, it was my identity, right? When I go to the club, like, people will know me, like, hey, Gabriel, you know, like, you feel good, you feel like you there's a sense of belonging, you know. I feel like a baller, I feel like, you know, I have lots of girls around me, you know. That's the kind of identity or belief that I wanted, and that was what's valuable to me back then. Right? But to me, like, nowadays, this doesn't even matter. I mean, just one night of fun, and then you still have to deal with the hangover whatsoever, right? And then I cannot even spend time with my daughter and my wife if I'm hangover. So what's more important? My wife and my daughter. So yeah, so that change of value, what I value most, what I prioritize most, I believe is one of the reasons why my whole lifestyle changed.
So it's like whole complete 180, right? I think the value system is so important. I recently talked to this person as well, this new friend of mine who shared with me that when he had a kid, he initially couldn't even believe that he was a father. Right? When his wife was pregnant, you know, whole 9 months, you know, he knows he's going to be a father, but he's just like, in his mind, he just couldn't really accept it. His value system wasn't aligned yet. So it was more business owner first rather than like father first. But the moment he sees the kid, somehow something changed. It was like, oh, wow, this is my kid. I got to really take care of this kid. So I like what you said as well, like really about committing to it, changing your identity, changing your value system. And that, I believe, is how you can take each step deliberately towards the person you're meant to become.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you don't really know your values, it seems that everything you do is like, a bit unsure.
Yeah.
Right?
I do want to add on to what you just said earlier about how your friend saw child, okay? And immediately he felt a change, right?
Yeah.
I want to say that that's not normal for everyone, okay? The change of identity is a choice. There are some people who have a kid and they still haven't taken on the identity of a father. I mean, you see that all the time, right? Of course, no judgment. Even for myself, it took me about close to a year, right, before I accepted I was a father. So it wasn't like, when I first saw my baby, it wasn't like any magical moment, whatever. It was like over a gradual period of time, and then I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to step up as a dad.
What changed?
I think that several reasons. My wife is definitely someone that plays a part in this. She's very encouraging, very supportive. So she did help a part in helping me become a dad. But I guess it's also going back to like moments where I felt like, hey, I was enjoying myself with her. Another thing is I started taking care of her more. Because initially it was more like my wife doing more the night feeding and all the changing diapers, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think when I started to commit to doing that, to sacrifice my time to do that, that's where the commitment happens. And then that's where the identity change. I think so, yes. Yeah. So it's not always like you see the baby and then there's a magical moment.
Yeah. So
it's a choice to change the identity.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a choice, and I guess also there are some actions they need to take to start to embody that choice in your own being, right? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I think these days, your value system have changed from the person that you were before. So it will be Christ, it will be family. What would you say would be your third value system right now?
Family and health.
Health lah.
Health. I would say maybe health even before family, because you see it's about which comes first. Right? Are you putting the cart before the horse? So like if you put family first, but you don't have health, how are you going to have the health to take care of family?
Interesting.
But if you take care of family, your health first, you have the energy, you can be present.
Yeah.
You can even spend better quality time with your family. Yeah, and you have the health and the life to serve your family. And that's what I realized for me. That's why now I started engaging you, working out,
yes.
stop drinking alcohol. Yeah. So I guess, yes. So it's more like spirituality, God, health, and then family. And then my career and business. Yeah.
I guess it's really about understanding what place you're coming out from, right? Like even let's say we talk about business. If you think about it, when you build a business, what's the main purpose of the business? Right? Is it to just make money? Is it to help people? But end of the day, through that business as well, it allows you the freedom to be a responsible family man, to take care of your family. So family most often comes first rather than business, right? Sometimes people put their business first, not realizing that they are sacrificing their family. Then it's kind of like, hey, aren't you doing the business for your family at the end of the day?
Yes.
And in terms of health as well, some people give up their health because of their business, only to use whatever money they earn from the business to put back into their health. And sometimes it's in the form of, let's say, surgery, medications, when in reality, health should come first. Because I believe that everything important is based on your health. Like, if you don't have health, you cannot do anything. Right? And what was the switch for you actually? Because I remember a long time ago when I first know you as well, health wasn't really top of your mind, right? What was it that changed?
I guess looking at it from, so what we're talking about values right now, right? We're looking at it from, like I say, a triangle, top-down approach, right? Whatever that you put at the bottom will be serving the one at the top. So what I just said to you was God, health, family, business. See, the business is supposed to serve the family, not the other way around, right? The family is supposed to give you better health, right? Or at least make you want to take care of your health better, right? And taking care of the health is so that I can glorify God, right? Or in everything I do, right? So in my business, my business, my family, my health will all glorify the one who saved me. And that's like what some people call it the vision or the purpose in life, right? So for me, at the top, why I put God first is because I want my life to be a shining light for God, for Christ.
Yes.
Because He has changed my life, and my life has been transformed, and I feel that I'm so joyful and fulfilled and happy, and I want to share this joy. And so one of the best way to share is you share it in other areas of your life, right? And people look at my health, they're like, how do you do that? Like, yeah, probably Jesus, right? Because everything that I asked for earlier, even though I said, okay, I changed my identity on that, I had to pray for it. It wasn't something that happened immediately. Like now that you ask me about why did I start taking care of my health, I literally had to pray for desire to take care of my health because I wasn't taking care. I was drinking, I was doing all kinds of things that were destroying my health. Yeah. And I don't know why. You know, a lot of times you have patterns and self-destructive behavior, right? And you don't even know why. And so I had to pray. Initially I was praying for discipline, and I realized I was praying for the wrong thing. First, I pray for desire. Yeah. Because before the discipline comes the desire. You gotta have the desire, then you train the discipline.
Yes.
So I started praying to God, and I say, God, can you give me the desire to take care of my health? And started giving me the desire. Can you give me the desire to go to the gym? And so people ask me, you know, like, is all this your own willpower, whatever? I can say, for sure, no. Yeah, for sure, no. Something supernatural happened when I pray, when I believe. It didn't happen instantly, right? Pray, okay, go to gym, out of maybe self-effort, fail, then come back again and go to God again and say, hey, I failed. Yeah, and God says, it's fine. You know, my grace is sufficient for you. Because as Christian, we believe that we are already living a victorious life, right? Whatever Christ has done is a finished work for us. And so we start off from a finishing line. We are not fighting to win the war, right? We're fighting from a place of already a victory.
I hear you.
And so that is like a changing of my mind in every area, in everything. Like, give me desire to be a father. Give me the desire to love my wife more. Yeah. You know, sometimes I don't know about, you're not married yet, okay? But yes. Sometimes I don't feel like I want to love my wife. I think that's very normal.
Yeah, right? I guess emotions are sometimes not at our control as well, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's the science behind it, but I guess we can't always control our willpower, our emotions. What I say is true, you know. Sometimes it's all about the choice behind it. So I really like the part where you break down your values into like a pyramid. So previously I went through a challenging period of my life, right? I believe that if you also know the story, the past 2 years or whatever was quite stressful. So recently also I started going to a therapist. Okay, I think end of the day, having somebody to speak to bounce off ideas professionally can be very useful. Yeah. And one thing that he shared with me was also something like that, like a value system, having a pyramid, right? But for mine, it was a bit more different. It was really about understanding who is important in your life. Because end of the day, you know, you do get a lot of, like, let's say, naysayers, haters, or people that might feel a bit wronged, right? I think that's very normal, especially if you're doing great stuff. And sometimes these kind of comments can actually affect you. Or maybe we talk about different activities. Let's say you got friends asking you, you want to go party or whatever. Yeah. But if you don't know your value system, you might be put left, right, center. Yeah. Right? Exactly. So he shared with me that you got to really understand what belongs to your pyramid, what belongs to your values. Because let's say a hater comes and tells you, say, hey, I don't like your hair, I don't like your face. You won't even bother about it because it's not even on the pyramid.
That's why. Right.
Who's on your pyramid? God. Your family, your friends, let's say. Then maybe these are the people that you would trust a bit more in terms of their comments, right? What are the activities, let's say, you are a family man. Does it make sense for you to go party every week, every day? No, right? So understanding your value pyramid, I think, is super important, right? And yeah, so I really like that part. You know, on that note as well, you know, I'm also just wondering, based on whatever we talk about so far, right? What are some of the pivotal moments that kind of shape you to want to continue what you're doing today? You know, like when you do your business, how do you see it growing? What are you working towards? Like, for example, when you say you help these service professionals, right? What is the purpose about it? Like for me, for example, why I work with you, right? Because when I work with you, you're able to take care of your health, your fitness, so that you can continue to create the impacts that you're going to create. That's what I realized now, you know, like helping all these business professionals, executives shine in their personal life so that they can continue to do their mission, right? So how about yourself?
Yeah, I guess coming back to my values and my purpose, right? I feel that serving the customers and serving my client is just on the business level, but the real purpose is so that I can shine for Christ. I can show the values of being a Christian, and hopefully that would attract people to want to find out more about Christ. I guess, of course, there's only believers and non-believers, right? So for believers, I want them to see that, hey, you know, if you are a believer, how your life can be like, you know, in Christ. And if you're a non-believer, then hopefully that gives them a bit of a taste of what an awesome life you can get. You know, not a life of like striving and a bunch of to-dos. You know,
basically not like the modern rat race that we're living in.
But a life of rest. A I mean, even despite me saying that, I mean, of course, not saying that there's no challenges, there's a lot of challenges I go through, but I find that every time I deviate from this vision of mine, I tend to lose any motivation. And this actually happened last year. I think for somehow for last year. So there was this thing that happened, I think because of COVID, right? Everyone was just locked out at home, I was locked out at home, and there was no going out, there was no partying, and you know, and that was my lifestyle in the past. So then when things started opening up, when clubs started opening and stuff, I just felt this strong temptation to start going. I don't know why, you know, but it's just maybe like I just miss some of my old life.
Yeah.
And that happens. And when I started going, we even went to Vegas, you know, my wife and I, we went to Vegas, you know, it was like a party, even coming back, you know, like I kind of got lost a bit and kind of lost focus on like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And even felt like I'm a hypocrite if I'm sharing the goodness of God, but yet I'm still struggling with some things. I'm still struggling with alcohol, I'm still struggling with my old life. But I realized that that's the journey of everyone, right? Like they will never reach a place where there's nothing to struggle. So I recall last year, my business kind of like took a hit, really. I lost focus and I had no motivation. You know, business was growing, but I had no motivation. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to wake up. Most of the time, just like playing games. Just don't even want to do anything. Until I had this moment where I realigned myself again. Hey, what am I doing? What am I doing? And that was when I realized that like my purpose in life is really to shine for God. And every time I deviate from that, I lose motivation.
Yeah.
I lose my focus. And my purpose is to share how good God is. And it does not matter how good I am. People think that I'm good already, then I can share how good God is, right? But I realized that I'm sharing how good God is because He is good, not because I'm good.
Yeah.
So I think that was the shift I had, actually just very recently, just last year. And ever since I had that shift, right, suddenly just everything started flowing. I don't know how to tell you. I started waking up earlier. I started doing my work. You know, I deleted all my games. I could work 12 hours a day. I don't feel tired. Not saying that you have to work 12 hours every day, but yeah, like I could work until like late at night and I still feel joy and I still feel motivated. And I feel that that's like a restful life, right? There's no strife. You're not doing something because like I have to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, I have to strive and use my self-effort to do it, right? But it's like I'm doing it and I'm like enjoying it. There's life
It's like
flowing.
your why, right? I mean, it's like your why that's calling you and pulling you
Yeah.
to serve at your best, lah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's so true, right? I was talking to a friend as well a while ago. So I realized that one thing about me as well is that I have been striving, like what you said. I've been working so hard, and then sometimes I realize that I kind of forgotten my why. So the why that I tell people is that I believe in helping people to become the best versions of themselves, which is just like for me as well. I'm striving to be the best version of myself. But then I realize, for what? You know, so saying a conversation with a friend who is also religious, more spiritual than I am, and he shared me something that was very profound, to the point that I decided to explore going back to church, and I've not gone to church for 14 over years.
Interesting.
So my family actually is a bit more religious than I am as well.
Your family, your
Christian,
parents are Christians?
basically. So they have been asking me week after week after week for years to go to church. And I'm like, it's okay, thanks, but no thanks, it's okay. I don't need to go to church to go and like, you know, speak to God, for example. That's my excuse. Then I was having a conversation with him, and I was like, you know, I realized bro, I've been a bit more lost in terms of my spiritual self. And I asked myself, why am I doing this? Why am I building my business at the end of the day? Surface level purpose, I understand. But why? So he says that, you know, for example, he's in marketing as well. He shared that through his work, he's able to, you know, glorify God in his ways, right? Just like what you said today. Then I realized that, when I say best version of helping others to become the best version of themselves, right? Maybe they are not religious, right? But in one way or another, it is still helping them to become the best version of themselves so that they can serve their higher purpose, whatever that purpose is. Maybe they are different religions or whatever.
Yeah.
So that got me very intrigued. It gives me a bit more meaning as to the work that I do. So maybe at the surface level, it might not be to glorify God, but maybe it could be to glorify their family or to help them to become better fathers, to become better business owners so that they can impact more people with the work that they do. Then it kind of shift that motivation a bit more.
Yeah.
Kind of really give more meaning to the work that we do. So I can really resonate with what you shared as well. Like to be able to now work without feeling tired, to be able to pull that 12-hour days and still feel happy that you're doing it as well. So I thought that was really insightful. You know, where people need to realize that they need to look beyond the surface level motivations and to really understand their deep why. And if they can't find that deep why, explore, look deeper, take a step back if necessary.
Yeah.
And then you can realize that, hey, maybe all the energy and the motivation is there. So we've covered a lot of different topics, right? A lot of different themes in today's podcast. But if you could maybe give just a word of advice or some tips to help the listeners out.
I guess it's the same advice I give myself every day. I think to take things loosely. Don't take everything too seriously sometimes. Trust in the process. Even when you fail, like belief is failing forward and learning every single lesson from there. Yeah. And that helps you to move forward.
Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
All right, so that concludes today's episode of the Press On Podcast, and thank you for joining us. So if you like what you hear and you want to listen more, do remember to like and subscribe and follow for more. And of course, if you know somebody who can benefit from today's episode, do remember to share this with them, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.